Hey folks, Reloading Bench back with you. I want to take a little bit of a break from the new reloader stuff as well as the 416 Barrett. Still moving forward on both sides, but I thought I'd put together a short video on what I'm calling Now and Then. And I think I've told you before in other videos, I like old stuff. And it's pretty cool when you come across something old and in great condition. And when you compare it to what the version of today is being produced in terms of quality and craftsmanship and all that kind of good stuff. So I happened to stumble across some stuff over the years and got to the point where I thought this was a good time to maybe put something together and show some interesting things. And what sparked it off was a local recent pickup of a Lyman powder measure, the old number 55. And what I found really interesting was the condition of the box. I only wish that price tag was still visible. That's too bad. But when you look at the condition of the box, in terms of the seams, pretty amazing considering how old it is. And then when you look at the construction of that box, I mean, it's metal splines. Where do you see that? Well, you don't anymore. But that just goes to show you that when this kind of stuff was made back in the day, it was made to last. I mean, when you look at the condition of what's actually in here, other than some very minor usage, essentially stored and left for, not so much forgotten, but just on a shelf. The way things were packaged back in the day, you don't quite see that as much anymore. In fact, the only thing that reminds me of this kind of packing and attention to detail with boxes is what Apple has done since 2007 with the iPhone, and a lot of other competitors are now copying. But a very cool find for something like this to step back in time. And speaking of stepping back in time, at the same time, I picked up some primers. And for those of you who know anything about Western actually purchased Winchester. The Western Olin Company purchased Winchester when they went bankrupt. I think it was in either 1930 or 1931. But I mean, when you look at the quality of what's produced today, and again, very acceptable for today's standard, plastic tray with primers separating each individual one, very functional. You know, nothing fancy, lots of small, lots of warning, but and there you can actually see the Olin Company. So Winchester is owned by Olin, and Olin was Western was started, and then Olin was a subsidiary of Western, and then Olin became the parent company. But what drew me to this box when I first saw it was the fact that it's old. These are large rifle primers. And when you open this up, what's really amazing, I'm trying not to drop these, is the primers are there, but this is wood. The separator is actually a wood tray. You just don't see this in today's marketplace. But back in the day, this was considered norm. The attention to detail, I wouldn't say is lost today on something like this, but a completely different manufacturing process in terms of the cardboard box, which is much more robust than what this is, as well as the wooden tray insert. I mean, just a very, very different way of doing things. And obviously it's all down to the dollar, but I thought that was very, very cool in terms of old versus new. Still the release of liability we accept. We assume no reliability. We assume no liability for damages, but very cool old box of functioning primers. And on to more old stuff. And you guys know I'm a Lee fan, so I've heard different dates for this particular, I'm going to call this a pamphlet, not a book. It does not have an ISBN number. There's no manufacture date or production date anywhere to be found. But this is the original first edition of the Lee Reloading Handbook. And when you look at it, 98 cents. I think that's amazing. So this is circa 1970. I've heard also 1960, but I'm going to go with 1970 based on my research. And when you look at something like this that's, you know, going on 50 years old, 45-ish, not a huge amount of data, but when you can see the format and then you look at the current version, it's about 98, 99 pages. You can see a lot of the tool sets that are still used by Lee today. In fact, these dippers we're going to talk about here shortly. But the chamfer and the priming tools, case trimmers that I just got for the 416. So the history, we're also going to look at this. In fact, we have this Lee loader as another item to discuss. At $9.95, I wish that's all I paid for this. But when you consider the age and condition of something like this, and again, 100 pages, and then when you look at today's version, the now, so that was the then. The now is considerably more expansive in terms of data. You're looking at roughly 610 pages. But again, you can see a lot of the similarity between what started in 1970 in terms of cartridge information load data that exists today. Cartridge data, load data. But again, for something that's older than me, I think that's quite cool. And not to leave anyone else out of the mix, here's Joyce Hornady's version. Now this is circa 1967 first printing. So that leads me to believe that the Lee handbook, the first one, was about 1970-ish. I don't think Lee had a 7-year jump on Hornady. I think they were right around the same time. But when you look at it for the time, the Hornady manual, considerably more in depth, and many times, maybe 3.5 times, 360 pages, 3.5 times the size of the Hornady, the Lee pamphlet, I would say. But when you look at the information in the Hornady book, again, talking about their particular bullets and specific powder loads and data for those bullets, and then when you look at the today, Hornady cartridge of reloading, 9th edition. This is almost 3 times the size at 924 pages. But again, when you look at the layout, very comparable to what was produced in 1967. Not quite as old as me, but again, the cool factor of the now and then, not as in good condition as the Lee pamphlet, but still amazing to be able to hold something from 1967 for a hobby that you do today in 2016. And jumping back to Lee, the Lee loader. So I did a short video on being able to load without a press. So again, back in the late 50s, early 60s, you could purchase this kit, and it had everything you needed to do, and this is for 45 ACP, to load 45 ACP, powder, decapping, sizing, loading, priming, and then seating your bullet. Very, very cool for something, again, $10 back in the day, and again, all cardboard. Whereas today, when you order the exact same product, you're going to get a robust plastic enclosure with essentially the same information. And what I think is cool is it's exactly the same toolkit minus a color change on the dipper. So again, stepping back in time, from a packaging perspective. But just like in 1911, if something's good, why mess with the formula? Why change the formula? And speaking of formula, how about powder for our load? An old Hercules before Alliant purchased them. I don't know who owned them before Hercules, but $14.99. I'm not sure what year this particular can is from, but it's a light cardboard. And I'm not sure if the tin predates the cardboard or is after the cardboard. But again, the cool factor, in my opinion, and I think this price is $3.49. And it looks like it houses 1 pound as well. So identical. So I'm going to say that at $14.99, this is probably newer. Things aren't made in tin cans anymore, so I'm assuming the cardboard was made to save money. And this is what it looks like today. 2400 is owned by Alliant or produced by Alliant. I've had this for, as you can see, a long time. And your traditional, more familiar black plastic 1 pound containers. And staying with powders, if you were to buy any Lee product that required dippers, this is what you're getting today. You're getting a bunch of yellow dippers for the charge by volume, not by weight. So Lee does it a little bit differently, but quite accurately, especially for hand loading. Now you know that's not going to go back together. So I saw these online, and I'm not sure which predates which, so I'm going to take a guess. But again, for the cool factor, these are probably older than me. Box is in better condition than I am too, I would imagine. But there's just something about completeness of old stuff. When you look at, you won't find something like this today. See if I can get it in the window. You can see the charges, the measure based on the different powders as you pull this, and it's hard to do with one hand as I'm trying to show it on video, but you get the idea. And the list of smokeless powders, which is probably about 4 times this size today. So these were the red measures, and I believe these are even older. Everything else is the same in terms of presentation, but these are the black dippers. And if anybody knows the difference between the black and red in terms of age, please let me know. So this says 1966. So let's see what the red says, possibly the same thing. Yeah, 1966. So I don't know when the change from black to red or red to black, but yellow is the current. And then I found this a while back, and this reminded me of my youth in the sense that if you could feel this, I mean, this is heavy and it's tin. It's a rifle cleaning kit, and it was $3.75. So back in the day, an Outers number 477 rifle cleaning kit. And the cool factor for me, aside from it being old, was the condition of the box. It wasn't all tattered up. And the condition of the actual case. Again, you just don't see this in today's marketplace. All tin, painted tin. When you look at, I'm going to put this down so I don't drop it. The tin oil can. Try and find a tin oil can today. Everything is plastic. When you see the different tins to pour your solvents in, I think I keep my Hoppies number 9. Hopefully I won't destroy that. But when you look at cleaning solvent that's still in a bottle, doesn't happen today. You won't find it today. Everything is plastics based. Cleaning patches. Again, when you look at the condition of the boxes, pretty cool. Another tin can where you can see some of the gun slick has seeped out over the time. Again, today everything would be cheesy, plasticky, but a solid piece of product for something that was made back in the day and sold for $3.75. Stepping back in time. Like this stuff, it warms my heart to be able to participate in a hobby that has the historical background that reloading does in terms of how it started and how it continues today. So I think that's a wrap for the then and now outlook. So take care and talk to you soon.